Good morning. We want to welcome you all to our webinar workshop this beautiful Wednesday morning. We appreciate you waking up and spending a small part of your day with us. My name is Brian Griffin, a marketing assistant here at Messer Financial Group. Many of you are already familiar with Messer Financial, but in case you do not know, we are an FMO located in beautiful Mint Hill, North Carolina. We started with just 2 agents, and we are now serving over 20,000 agents across 40 states, and we are still growing. So today, we're going to be talking about the importance of critical illness coverage. And I'm sure almost everyone on the line with us today has either experienced or witnessed someone deal with a critical illness in their life. Now, it's hard to imagine, it's hard to watch someone actually go through the physical, emotional, and financial hardships that a critical illness can bring to a household. And the key to getting better after experiencing a critical illness is rest. But how do you rest when you can't go to work and the bills keep coming in? So Ken Smith is actually back to discuss why we as agents should have critical illness coverage, but also why we should discuss it with every one of our clients that we sit with or talk to. Ken has over 40 years experience in the insurance sales industry, and he's the author of the best-selling book, Sales Lessons from the Masters, and we're lucky to have him as our national sales trainer here at Messer. So before we do get started, a few housekeeping rules. We're going to hold all questions until the end of his presentation. If you do have questions, just type in the box on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll get to as many as we can at the conclusion of the presentation. So now, without any further delay, Mr. Ken Smith.
Great, thanks, Brian. One of the things that is really important to us at Messer Financial is that we provide the support you need to grow your business, and also to really close more sales. This morning, I want to give you a little bit of background, my background with critical illness insurance. Back in the 90s, I was part of my responsibility at Mutual of Omaha was for the supplemental products. And we had a couple cancer plans that really needed to be revised. And this is back about 1997, and the internet just coming into play. And in doing research, I just happened to stumble across critical illness plans around the world and what was happening with sales. And when I looked at, a cancer plan versus a critical illness plan, which covered multiple conditions, there was a thought that hit me, and that was, would you buy a life insurance policy that only paid if you died on Monday or Tuesday? And that was a great comparison for cancer versus critical illness. And I will tell you, I am very passionate about critical illness insurance. And the reason for that is in the last 20 years, I have seen the difference this product has made in people's lives. And I also want to mention, though, if you're doing cancer, heart, and stroke, everything we talk about today really will apply to those sales. Okay, so I want to start off real quickly with a polling question. If you're ready with it, I want you to take a minute and answer how have you sold critical illness plans and how much you've sold.
All right, the numbers are coming in.
Great.
All right, so
Okay.
actually we still have a few folks coming in, but the numbers are looking like 0 is 44%, 1 to 10, 36%, 11 to 25, 4%, and then more than 25, 15%.
Okay, well that's great. And one of my objectives now is to change that zero from 44% to 0%. One of the things I do is when I'm speaking to groups in person, I will have everyone in the group stand up. And my question for them is, if you know anyone who has been diagnosed with cancer, had a heart attack or stroke, sit down. And the whole group sits down. And I've had this, you want something powerful. I did it with a group of almost 400 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And it is powerful when you have 400 people sit down at the same time. But the point of that is that cancer, heart attacks, and stroke touch each and everyone's life. No one in the United States goes untouched by one of those conditions. But first, I think it's important that we tune into everyone's favorite radio station, WIIT FM. And that stands for What's in It for Me. Okay, here's what's in it for you. Why should you sell critical illness insurance? The income potential is absolutely incredible. You know, there is still low current market penetration in the United States. And what's interesting is that most of the sales are coming through worksite. And if you look at worksite sales last year, critical illness by far is the fastest growing worksite product. But not everyone has access to worksite products. Second, it's a great door opener. And I'm going to give you a couple things that you can use this morning that will help you use critical illness to open doors for you. Your current clients are a great market, and it also helps with client retention. One of the things that I talk about a lot is with client retention, the more policies you have in a household, the less chance there is of losing that client. And one of the things that is really different, and especially compared to life insurance, is the purchaser is typically the claimant. And the most important thing is that if you have a claim, the referrals are absolutely incredible, because most of the claimants will tell their friends and family about the critical illness plan and what kind of difference that it made for them. Now, you know, here's the thing. Both the clients and us as agents have to go through a mental process. You know, and the thing we need to stop in, and this is what probably goes through your mind. We've got so many insurance products out there. How do I decide if this is important? And then why critical illness now? And then the third question is, do I really need it? One of the things that is absolutely different about critical illness insurance is the fact that it was not created by an insurance company. It was actually created by a world famous heart surgeon, Dr. Marius Bernard, back in South Africa in 1983. Marius was part of the team of surgeons that assisted his brother Christian with the first successful human heart transplant back in the 60s. Marius was also an absolute incredible person. He was actually part of the Congress in South Africa, and he was member of a real small party back in the 80s who was fighting against apartheid. But he created critical illness because he saw what was happening to his patients. He saw that his patients were surviving a critical illness. The financial stress was working against everything he was doing as a doctor. And one of the first times I met Dr. Bernard, I asked him the question. I said, was there any one situation that made you start going around and talking to insurance agents and insurance companies about this idea of critical illness that would pay a lump sum on the diagnosis of one of the covered conditions? And he told me about a patient he had. The woman was in her late 30s. and it turned out she had lung cancer. And he went in, and this is kind of interesting because he went into a big explanation about how with lung cancer you remove the one lung and the other lung takes over. But he said he did the surgery. A few years later, the cancer came back, and she was dying from the cancer. And he said he saw her a couple weeks before she died. And he said when she came into his office, there was anger in her eyes. And very seldom do you see anger in the eyes of a dying patient. And Dr. Bernard talked with her and found out that she was still working. And he said to her, why you should be home with your son? And she said, I need to keep working to pay the bills. And he said, after she died, her life insurance did exactly what it was supposed to do and take care of her son. But he said there was nothing there for that time, after her diagnosis to help take care of her. So he went around, started talking to agents, started talking to insurance companies. 1983, the first critical illness product was introduced in South Africa. And from there, it spread around the world. There's two types of break-ins. Think about this. Someone breaks into your house, steals everything, causes damage to your property. The event is the same whether you have insurance or not. But here's the thing, the impact on your family is dramatically different if you have insurance. Everyone knows that an insured break-in is better than an uninsured break-in. Everyone we talk with needs to understand that there's two types of cancer, insured and uninsured, and insured is a lot better than uninsured. So the question is, why critical illness now? It's because things have changed. If you stop and think about it, the medical profession is the one that has driven the need for critical illness. The conditions that used to kill us, because advances in medicine and medical technology have improved so dramatically, we survive today. See those numbers up there? 4, 34, 58, 56, 30, 100. Usually when I'm in front of a group, I'll ask, what do you think they are? And inevitably, someone in the group says it's a lottery number. And here's what I want to tell you. It is a bad luck lottery number. 4 years ago, a client of my friend, Keith Leach, was 34 years old. 58 days ago, he was warming up on the treadmill, getting ready to work out, and had a heart attack. 56 days ago, he came out of a medically induced coma after the heart attack. 30 days later, he had a check for his critical illness benefit of $100,000. This is an incredible story. Keith's clients at the gym, he's warming up on the treadmill, goes down, 10 cell phones, dial 911. The paramedics come. They get him to the hospital. They're worried about organ damage, so they put him in a medically induced coma to reduce the potential damage. I almost forgot the most important thing is on 3 treadmills from him, the woman on the treadmill was a nurse. She goes over to the wall and grabs the defibrillator and applies it to him. Now think about this. A generation ago, 20 years ago, there were people didn't have cell phones in the gym. 20 years ago, that there were no defibrillators in the gym. So if this had happened to Keith's client 20 years ago, he would have been a death claim. But instead, because of the advances in technology, he survives. That's why critical illness insurance is so important. Not because you die from those conditions, but because you're going to survive. So with planning and working with our clients, the question is, what's the right insurance product for cancer, heart attack, stroke, etc.? With old planning, it was life insurance, because when those conditions happened, people died. But with new modern planning, you still need life insurance, but you also need critical illness protection to go with it. Albert Einstein was teaching at Princeton, and one year his teaching assistant came in and said, "Professor Einstein, we've made a horrible mistake. The questions on this year's exam are the same as last year's." Einstein said, "No problem, because the answers are different. The questions we ask with doing the right thing for our clients are still the same, but the answers are different." One of the great things about critical illness protection is that the client decides how the money is used. The most obvious is covering uncovered medical, the out-of-pocket expenses. It also can be used for someone that, the health insurance plans only cover FDA-approved drugs. Sometimes there are drugs where you can get into studies because you have the money to pay for them. It gives you the ability to access those. You can access non-traditional treatments. One of the biggest things is you can supplement your disability income. And a lot of people who have purchased critical illness plans don't even have disability income, so it's made a difference for them there. Mortgage prepayment, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. That is one of the biggest ways to sell this product. Stress reduction. I saw a survey, and I wish I could remember where it was. This is like 15 years ago, and it was kind of one of those duh moments, because it said people who have money survive critical illnesses, are more likely to survive critical illnesses than people who don't. And it's so simple when you think about it, because if you have money, that reduces the stress that goes along with it. So critical illness, there's a variety of ways claimants use the money, but it makes a difference. I still remember a call I got from two agents. They had been out there and talked to a young guy about critical illness protection. And it was interesting because the young guy said, "Why do I need this? I'm young and healthy." And one of the agents said to him, he said, "That's exactly the reason you need it. Because who's more likely to survive a critical illness? Someone like yourself who's young and healthy, or someone who's old and in bad health?" And then, there's moments in our careers that really have an impact on us. 21 years ago this month, I was introducing the first critical illness plan with Mutual of Omaha in North Carolina. Still remember moments in time. We did the introduction, and I think it was a Hilton right by the Charlotte airport. At that meeting was a Mutual of Omaha agent, Jack Perry. Jack was the son of Hall of Fame baseball pitcher Gaylord Perry. And I still remember talking with Jack. But at that meeting, after it, Jack bought a $100,000 critical illness plan on himself. Now, at this point in time, Jack is 33 years old. He is 6'8", 230 pounds, and he plays basketball three times a week at the Y in Charlotte. A few years after he purchased the plan, Jack was diagnosed with cancer. Check for $100,000. Jack lived another 5-6 years after that. And I had to really, it was great. I did a couple presentations with his dad, Gaylord, just to talk about the importance of critical illness insurance. And I remember one time asking Gaylord, what kind of difference did buying a critical illness plan make for Jack? And it was really interesting what he told me. He said, Jack felt the thing he did was, by buying a critical illness plan, was he was taking care of his family, his wife, and his children. That's what made the biggest difference for him with that. One of the things I talk about is attachment. We have to attach the benefits to make them more meaningful for our clients. Last year, 210,000 people went to the hardware store to buy drills. How many wanted drills? No one wanted a drill. The reason they bought the drill was because they had a problem. They needed a hole. And the only way they could solve that problem was to buy the drill. And that's the perspective that we have to look at, not just critical illness sales, but all our sales. Ben Feldman, the greatest life insurance salesman of all time, said, don't sell life insurance, sell what life insurance does. And the same is true with critical illness insurance. We have to talk about what it does for our clients. Stories are really important with illustrating the need for critical illness insurance. They're powerful. And, I've got two stories that are really, really had an impact on me. When we put this together, the first product at Mutual of Omaha, one of the things was I didn't just say, hey, here's the product. I was selling everyone on that team and all the administrative and IT people that were involved on why critical illness was important. And almost everyone that was on that team bought a critical illness policy when it became available. One of the people who worked in the agent comp area was a guy by the name of Tim McCormick. Tim bought a critical illness plan on himself. About 2 years after he bought it, Tim had a heart attack. Tim also had some serious issues as a result of the heart attack. And with the heart attack, because they had the money, his wife, Jenny, was able to take time off from her job under the Family Leave Act and stay home and help him through the recovery process. That would have never happened if they didn't have the critical illness plan. But the amazing thing is, every time when I saw either Tim or his wife, Jenny, she thanked me for pushing Tim to buy a critical illness plan. Another story is Eric Tepley. Eric worked for me at Assurity, and before there was critical illness insurance, Eric had just gotten married, they had a baby, and Eric was diagnosed with colon cancer. He's like 26, 27 years old. The doctor says, if you want to survive, you need to go to MD Anderson. And Eric said, we're young, we didn't have money saved, we didn't have the 6 months of income built up like we should. They just had a baby. And so he said, what do we do? He said, taking my wife with me to Houston. We need somebody to watch the baby so Amy can go to the consultations with me. And so he took his father-in-law along to watch the baby while they were going to the hospital. And Eric said, no money, so what do? We put everything on the credit card. And he said it took years from them to get out under that with what they would put on the credit card. So this product can really make a difference for our friends, family, and clients. So one of my questions for you is, what does a good salesperson and a good lawyer have in common? And then, people hate to be sold, but they love to buy. What's the secret? The secret is the questions we ask. And I'm going to introduce you to the 4-question critical illness meeting. And these 4 questions have been used to sell critical illness insurance all around the world. First question is, who do you know who's been diagnosed with cancer, had a heart attack, or stroke? Now, when you ask someone this question, most of the time, what they're going to do is it could be, they're going to answer, could be a family member, friend, or coworker, but they're going to mention the person closest to them. And when you ask this question, they're immediately emotionally involved in the sales process. Second question, was it planned or unexpected? And no one expects to have cancer, heart attack, or stroke. What this does, the second question does, is it illustrates the randomness of a critical illness. Because a lot of times people will say, hey, it was a guy on my basketball team or whatever. It's a healthy guy, it's a healthy person that had it. Third question is, was there unplanned emotional or financial stress on the household or the business? 99.9% of the time, there is financial stress. 100% of the time, there's emotional stress. And here's the thing, the two are related. If we can reduce the financial stress, it'll reduce the emotional stress. Now, it'll never take away that emotional stress completely, but it does reduce it. And then the last question is, would cash help? And guess what? With those 4 questions, you just took a prospect through the need for critical illness protection. You know, it's really interesting. If we as an industry had put together a critical illness plan, we would have totally screwed it up. You know, the fact and Dr. Bernard's approach to it was so simple. You know, you suffer a critical illness and it meets the insurance company's contractual terms. And one of the things about the critical illness is there's only one product where the claims are more clear-cut than critical illness insurance, and that's life insurance because the person's dead. But I mean, with cancer, you know, basically, you look at the pathology report, you can tell if it's cancer or not. If it is, the insurance company pays. The insurance company gives you the benefit, and then the most important thing is you decide what you do with the money. Now, 99% of the people are going to use the money to help pay the extra expenses, but there's also some other ways to do it. One of the things that I think is important with presenting any type of product that we work with is how you position the premium. You know, one of the ways that I really like doing is presenting it as a percentage of the benefit. And I think I think I did this one a while back, but it's like a 40-year-old for $100,000 of critical illness protection, and you see it's $900 a year for $100,000. So the premium is less than 1% of the benefit. So about less than 1% of the benefit is what it's going to cost you. And my favorite is I have presented more critical illness plans on the basis of a cup of coffee than any other way. You know, I could never remember the rates per thousand. So if somebody asked me how much a critical illness plan costs, you know, I'd always tell them it's about a cup of coffee a day. Now, I always said, you know, if it's a young guy, it's a convenience store cup of coffee. If it's someone my age who's a tobacco user, it's like the giant Frappuccino at Starbucks. But I've worked with agents and we've sold critical illness plans to smokers, and they ask me how much it costs, and I just say, you know, half a pack of cigarettes, and basically we'll just work the premium backwards and come up with it. So it really works well. again, with your life insurance clients, it comes down to basically, are you doing the new planning versus the old planning? Old planning is just life insurance. New planning is critical illness and life insurance. But here's one of the biggest things. The market in Canada really took off when one of the banks started selling critical illness as mortgage protection. And it's really interesting because if you look at critical illness sales around the world, a significant part of the business outside of the United States has been mortgage sales, mortgage protection. And here's my whole approach. Do you have the new kind of mortgage insurance or the old kind of mortgage insurance? The old kind of mortgage insurance only pays your mortgage off if you die. The new kind still pays your mortgage off if you die. But in addition, if you're diagnosed with cancer, have a heart attack or stroke, it'll take care of 2 years worth of mortgage payments. Which do you want? I still remember, this is going to be almost 20 years ago, maybe a little less, 15 years ago. At Mutual of Omaha, there were 2 career agents, and they had a bunch of mortgage leads, and that no one had worked, and they were like 6 months old. Working with them, I said, this is the best time to work the mortgage leads. I said, all you do is go through and say, hey, I'm calling you, about your mortgage protection. Do you know if you want the old kind of mortgage insurance or the new kind of mortgage insurance? And the results they had with those 6 months leads going through and just using those words were absolutely incredible. And then I want to talk about one of the markets where this really fits. If you're doing health insurance under age 65, I would either use a hospital indemnity, but I'm going to at least sell an accident plan and critical illness plan to really supplement the health insurance. As agents, we have to look at the fact that there's 3 simple steps to what we do. We solve problems. And step number 1 is you have to know your customers and their potential concerns. And the way we do that and uncover the concerns and create the need is by asking questions. The questions identify the problems. My whole approach is, one of the great things I love about what we do is basically, I believe I really don't have to sell anything. All I have to do is ask questions. The questions identify the problem, and then I bring the product in to solve that problem. And I'm going to give you some questions that you can use if to package critical illness and accident plans with the health insurance under age 65. One of the questions I always ask is, you've got a $10,000, you're looking at $10,000 in out-of-pocket costs. How do you think you could possibly reach that cost? And generally, accident or critical illness is going to come up. So in case you reach that out-of-pocket max through an unforeseen accident or critical illness, would you cover that large bill through your savings account? Or do you want an option that would give you access to up to $15,000 in direct payment to you? Guess what? Very few people are going to be able to cover that out of their savings account. So you've opened a door to present a solution that happens to be critical illness and accident plan. A couple more questions. if you had an unforeseen accident or critical illness tomorrow, would you be able to cover an out-of-pocket expense of over $10,000? Have you or any family member been injured in an accident? Were they prepared to deal with the surprise expenses? And I also throw critical illness in there with that one too. Would you want to learn a way to cover bills and other expenses if you had a break in pay because of time off due to an accident or critical illness? See, again, what we do is ask questions, and it's all about asking the right questions, uncover the needs. So we've got a polling question. Brian, if you're ready, okay, I'm curious, what do you need to get started selling critical illness insurance?
All right, we're up on the screen here. So go ahead and respond. What do you need to get started selling critical illness insurance? All right, the votes are coming in. All right, and we're going to close this in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So let's lock in the responses here. All right, so 14% say nothing. I'm going to present to my client. 24% say nothing, I am ready. 43% say more product and underwriting information. And 19% said can walk through a sales process.
Okay, so I think we have some ideas, Brian, for a future webinar.
Yes. Product and underwriting information.
we could probably package one in where we go through the sales process and also do a webinar at the same, or also do the product and underwriting at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So it looks like 25% say they're ready though. That's good. 24%.
Now, here's for the 25% that is ready. Here is step number 1. You have to make the hardest sell first. And you know what that is? That's you. You know, I think it should be almost illegal for anyone to sell something that they don't own themselves. And one of the things that has worked effectively, and I've seen agents go out with the critical illness, is I have actually seen agents take their own critical illness policy with them and say, hey, I believe in this so much. You can see I bought it on myself. And here's the interesting thing is I will tell you, I have 3 critical illness plans. Yes, 3 critical illness plans because I believe in it. And the interesting thing is, a few years back, I needed temporary health insurance or temporary major med just for 2 months coming off the health insurance. And with purchasing it on through a call center, basically, they asked me if I wanted a critical illness plan to go with it. And just because they asked, I bought another critical illness plan. So the key is you gotta buy it yourself. And I look at people like Jack Perry and the difference that it made in his life. And I can't say enough about it. You know, Joe Gandolfo, who I write about in Sales Lessons from the Masters, said selling is 98% understanding human beings and 2% product knowledge. One of my goals in life is to really change the unfortunate way the insurance industry goes at it, is that as an industry, we focus 98% of our attention on the product and only 2% on understanding human beings. And one of the things that I try to drive home in every webinar, every training session I do, is that the secret to what we do and understanding human beings is to ask questions and ask lots of questions. I'm excited. We've got something coming up. We're getting close with it. We at Messer are going to introduce a podcast, and the title of the podcast is "Coffee is for Closers." What we want to do with this podcast is help you take your business to the next level. And what I would love to hear from you, if you see any specific needs, topics you would love to see discussed, email me, and we'll take a look at adding those. So then, Brian, do we have any questions?
It looks like everything that you went over was so clear. We didn't have we didn't have any questions here. What you just went over was, especially the story you shared about your friend Keith. It really hits home, because a lot of the times especially since it happened while he was working out in a gym, a lot of the times we think it's always going to be someone else. Yeah, but to hear that story is definitely shocking, but also it's a wake up call. And one of the things that I was looking at was just how many people suffer these. And I was looking at, it says for every 40 seconds, someone in the U.S. suffers a heart attack. And that comes to about 805 Americans, at least last year, or 805,000, excuse me. 1.8 million will be diagnosed with cancer this year. Approximately 795,000 people suffer a stroke every year. So this is something that's touching millions of people. And it's something that, as you said at the beginning, that every one of us, we've either experienced it or we've seen someone go through it. So it's definitely a necessary product that we need to take maybe a little more seriously.
One of the things, Brian, that we can ask all the participants on the webinar is the fact: what's the best idea that you got from this webinar? What's one of the most important things that you learned this morning? If you'll put that in the chat box, that would be great.
Yeah, if there's something that really touched you guys, or that you feel like is going to help you as far as presenting or bringing it up, go ahead and put that in the chat box, because we want to make sure that you are getting that this is something that is going to help you and that you found value in. And we have a couple different that are coming in. Of course, it says, okay, to ask the questions on every call. Thank you, William. Ask questions in a planned way. Andrew says that. Jacqueline says, how easy it really is. We tend to overthink it. This makes it simple to approach. Great comments. Great comments. And John asked, can he get the slides?
Yes. Just have John just email me, and you can see the email is ksmith@messerfinancial.com, and I will send you the slides.
Excellent. Excellent. And Eva said everybody needs the product. So very good. So old policy versus new, Shandira said. And that, I really like that analogy, Ken.
The mortgage insurance one, that will open up so many doors. If the other, and it works for renters too. One of the people I sold at a surety, she lived in an apartment, and when we introduced the critical illness plan there, I sat down with her and went through it, and she covered 2 years worth of rent payments, and she was diagnosed with cancer, and it did take care of her rent payments.
Excellent.
And that's the whole thing with the attachment is, if somebody buys, I don't sell the home mortgage or anything like that. 2 years is about what I focus on. And I always ask the question, would it reduce your financial stress if you're diagnosed with cancer and you know your mortgage will be taken care of for 2 years. Or if you're diagnosed with cancer and you know your rent will be taken care of for 2 years, would that reduce your financial stress?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Abby said the reason why a young person needs critical illness. So that's what she got out of this.
Good,
And
because who's more likely to survive? Someone who's
right.
young and healthy.
And can you speak to not well, I know you can't get into specifics because we're not drilling down on a particular carrier, but in your experience, is the cost level, is the premium level, meaning that if you
Yes.
get it as a young person, does it stay the same?
Yeah. The critical illness plans are basic. Most of them that are out there, and especially on the individual side, they're designed so that you get the rate going in at the age you purchase it. It stays with you forever.
Awesome. Yeah, because I was looking at a few, and I mean, you have the option to do a term, whether it's 10, 20, or 30 years, or you can do lifetime coverage. So just imagine locking in that coverage at a young age. And that's something that you can hold on to.
Exactly.
William says likelihood of dying versus critical illness. So that was your, I mean, what a great analogy as far as that is concerned. And it's something that I never really even thought of as far as considering that previously the way that these illnesses were dealt with was with life insurance. So,
You,
yeah.
you know, Brian, that brings up one interesting thought is that I remember years ago taking a look at how many term insurance policies result in claims. And for some reason, I remember it's about 2 or 3%. And that's part of the reason term insurance is so cheap,
Hmm.
you know. And, um, the fact is that I forgot where I was going with this one.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're more likely to get paid on a critical illness plan than you are on a term insurance plan. Is where I was going with it.
Yeah, well, I tell you what's happening, and there's a few carriers out here. I'm sure you've heard that they're incorporating critical illness into their plans now.
Right
Um,
now, I have a definite opinion on that.
Go ahead.
Okay, the carriers that do it on the life insurance side,
Hmm.
um, they accelerate the death benefit with it.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay. The problem, I mean, it's great and it's better than nothing, but here's the problem. You're going to accelerate that death benefit, and say you have someone who has cancer and
Hmm.
they can't qualify for any more life insurance. You're taking away a death benefit at a time they can't get any more life insurance.
Yeah.
So there's a plus side to it, but there's also a minus side to it.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Shandira, she asked, can we share the stats with her? I think the ones that I just went over. I'll include that in the email. Um,
Right.
yeah, and Jacqueline, she basically just agreed with you as far as she likes it separate as far as the life insurance and the critical illness. And Shandira asks, is this available for persons with preconditions?
You mean like pre-existing condition? I'm
Yes.
assuming. Um, Most of the carriers go back, like with cancer, they go back 10 years. So other than the minor skin cancers, if you had cancer within the last 10 years, you probably won't qualify for it.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Ken. I appreciate you going through the information with us. Um, it's something that all of us need to, if it's not happening to us, unfortunately, sometimes we kind of bypass it, but it's something that we need to keep in the front of our minds. We need to make sure that we have the coverage in place for ourselves and our family first, but also present this to any of our clients. Before we do close, Ken, is there anything that you want to say in closing?
The biggest thing I can say is you need to buy it on yourself. You need to make that hardest sale first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So once again, I want to thank Ken for taking time to go through this valuable information with us. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out today and joining us. Hopefully, you learned something that is going to help you in your business, a new tool for you to use to expand your client base also. If you are not contracted with Messer, please contact our marketing department, or you can contact Ken directly and reach out. Any questions that you have will definitely be answered. This is just a glimpse of some of the things that we do for our clients, or for our agents, forgive me. We want to make sure that you're fully equipped when it comes to information. You can actually go to our learning center at messerfinancial.com, and you can find all the different trainings that we have done. But not only that, if you go to messerfinancial.com, you'll see all of the tools that we have available for our agents to continue to grow as agents. Um, Also, definitely make sure that you take a minute to look at our events calendar at messerfinancial.com. We'll be having webinar workshops just like this scheduled throughout the year with valuable information. So please make sure that you take care of yourselves and take care of all those around you. All of you have a great day and a better week. Bye bye.